Everyone, and welcome to this week's This Week in Eorzea. I kind of played a prank on Pyra, who joins me because that is the first time she saw the new opening with the different music. So, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everybody. That was fantastic. I don't know if you see me in the preview, like shiny new thing.
Yeah, so we're constantly getting better. We're constantly improving, and we're here every single week with Final Fantasy XIV news and events. So thank you for being here. Yeah, let's just get started. There is some small news that came out this week, mostly regarding things we can buy. Like, hey, in case you need something, we've got a bunch of stuff for sale.
You want to spend your money? If you're in the US, did you get your tax refund recently?
Oh,
well,
God,
we know where you could put it.
Right? Okay. So in no particular order, what do we got? We have the Mog Station online store. We've got Zero's attire. And hair. So they do have the scythe. The scythe, of course, just being available to Reapers, a Reaper exclusive item on the online store. We have the Void Swept Strands, Zero's haircut, available for $5 US.
It's a very nice short one.
It is a really nice short one. I've started to really like. I'm not a fan of short hair personally, but I've started to really like some of the short hairs they've been putting out.
I think there's like a difference too. Like, I don't like short hair on myself. However, like I appreciate short hair, and I appreciate a really nice, unique short haircut.
Absolutely. I saw kind of a gameplay footage video, Mioni, on this, and what really struck me about this one in particular is the highlighting, which you can even tell from this image how well the highlighting kind of blends in through the entire hairstyle. Is it worth $5? Only you can say. They did release Zero's attire as a 4-piece set. Which, again, people are kind of mixed at, is better than the 1-piece sets or the 2-piece sets we've been getting. Still not perfect. So the feet and the legs come as 1 piece. And the chest and the arms come as 1 piece. They're not going to just show us that.
So interesting, though. That they...
visually.
They're getting in the good direction of splitting them up, but then like, well, some of these are still together. Why?
Right. And I mean, if they built it as 1 piece for a specific NPC in the game, I can see it might be extra work kind of trying to break it apart. But so I guess on one hand, we're glad it's not 1 piece. The earring and of course the hat being separate pieces. So if you had your eyes on her hat all along, like the rest of us, here's your chance to snag it. The earring is also really kind of cool. What can I say? $12. Would you buy it?
I wouldn't, especially because I don't think it would work on Vieira. And that until justice is served for us Vieiras out there, I can't bring myself to buying something that the primary goal of that outfit is the hat. Like, that hat is just so cool. So until I can wear that hat, not for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Next up on the Would You Buy It showcase. What do we got here? We've got some Final Fantasy XIV vinyls on sale pretty much starting now on the Japan store. They've released these before. I just love the sleeve art. I've seen it before, and it is just absolutely amazing. Of course, Endwalker now on there. For those musicophiles.
music songs.
There you go. This, of course, was shared to the Lodestone. Something that wasn't shared to the Lodestone is our first images of the Final Fantasy / Magic the Gathering collab. So there's 4 decks. As you can see, there was a Final Fantasy VII deck. There is a Final Fantasy XIV deck. Is Terra 5? I think I want to say Final Fantasy 5. And Final Fantasy 10. 6? Oh
So
my god.
Looks like
That's
Revival
it.
Final Fantasy 6 with Terra. Yep. Limit Break, Final Fantasy 7 Cloud, Counter Blitz, Final Fantasy 10, and Scions and Spellcraft, Final Fantasy 14.
There you go. Featuring, of course, the commander being Y'shtola from the Knights Blessed, so that is her in Shadowbringers. Yeah.
Without knowing anything about Magic the Gathering, reading her card at the beginning where it says, what is she? Legendary creature Cat Warlock? I kind of gasped at that. I was like, what? Did you just call Y'shtola?
Listen, I'm kind of psyched for this. We know there's a release date of June 15th-ish, but pre-orders should start before then. So for anyone looking to collect it, keep that kind of in the back of your head, because that's going to come up sooner rather than later. The Duty Commenced that aired this past week. No, I didn't win anything, unfortunately. I did watch, did not win. It's available for watching now on just kind of recorded video if you missed it and was curious. Essentially, they just like went over the live letter and talked about it. So, meh. But the link will be in the description below. And is that it? That's it for Lodestone news. The Instax and Final Fantasy XIV collab, I guess this is kind of an important date, is coming up the 25th with release of patch 7.18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's already next Tuesday. And then the only other thing that they mentioned for 7.18 was unlocking Savage and the most current tomestones, and maybe adding Echo. Kind of paraphrasing the translation from Yoshi P. I don't think they had a definite decision on that yet, but maybe we'll see.
Yeah, so I mean, in the meantime, we know we're going to get everyone will get the opportunity to get this emote and then participate in the ensuing contest. The sweepstakes starting February 26th. So they give you a day. Give you a day to get in, get the emote, and get ready. Until March 23rd, plenty of time. Unlike the last couple, like the two-tone one that was only like a week long. They're giving us a little bit more time on this one. I can... What else?
Hot pot?
Hot pots? You want to talk about the hot pot?
Were you craving hot pot?
Hot pot?
Hot pot. What a time to wish that we had access to Korean server things. Yeah, I know there's a few people doing videos about this, but during the is it Chinese or Korean? I don't know. I've heard two different conflicting. Yeah, the Korean version of the game, they had their producer live letter, and there is this hot pot mount coming in where you stir your little hot pot bowl. It's pretty fantastic, especially like the Lalafels. I'm not gonna lie, I want this so bad.
Right. will this full screen? Oh, there you go. Okay. So yeah, it's got some meat, some buns, some veg there. Maybe it looks like bamboo shoots. And there's a stick, and that's where the Lalafell rides. And stirs.
Stir it. I'm in love with it. It's so silly. I love it so much because of how silly it is.
Yeah, and it's got this. Oh my god, I am just. I can't even. The other one that came out, the Lotus, I ended up grabbing when we got the chance because it was absolutely gorgeous. So potentially this one will be available to North America as well in the future, but in the meantime, you can't buy it. I'm sorry, stop throwing money at me. You can't have it. Have we had, other than like the chocolate Copaker, a North American exclusive?
I don't know, because I mean, we have had different. Yeah, I don't know if we've had a North American exclusive, honestly, because a lot of the exclusive mounts, I think, defaulted to things like Amazon, or not Amazon. Yeah, like Amazon and Twitch crossover. So like Amazon had the Black Chocobo mount, I think, or I know they had like the maid outfit. There has been some, but I don't know if it's been region locked, honestly.
So yeah, that's out there. We might get it eventually. Just thought we'd show it off because it's news, you know? It's new.
If nothing else, just watching a Lalafell riding on a giant floating hot pot, stirring the pot, that's enough for me to be happy.
It's the little things, right? You gotta fall in love with the little things.
You gotta.
Okay. So honestly, that's pretty much everything on the lodestone right now. We're just waiting for the next date, of course, being the 25th. We'll see what drops in 7.18. And then very quickly after that, like by the end of February, we're going to get a Moogletome event, which we haven't heard anything about, but we know is happening. So we'll just have to look forward to it.
Please look forward to it. I mean, between that and then, like, whenever we get details of the next live letter, like, those are really the next things. And then, of course, if you haven't already, if you don't watch us every week and you haven't heard, the current season, is that correct? Is it season?
Yeah.
Series?
Season? Yeah.
Series. For PvP, just make sure you get those finished. I know there's a really cute outfit in there. But that is going to be wrapping up very soon as well with 7.2. So if you have some lull time right now, either try something else or kind of tie off any loose ends before the next patch.
I'm keeping it in the back of my head, but I'm going to save completing my series until the Moogletome events because PvP is a good way to earn Moogletomes.
Good point.
So I'm holding off grinding now, even though I see that coffer there at position 20 something, and I know I need to get it. I'm gonna procrastinate a little bit. Community check. The English forums. Listen, this is an ongoing saga here. I've talked about it a couple of weeks in a row. I'm going to share my screen because for the first time, I was able to actually get myself logged in. So I've won the beginning of the battle.
Hey, let's go.
Here's the thing. For anyone having the same problem I did, I'll let you in on a secret here. When you go to select your character, like when you log in, you have to select a character as being your character avatar on the site. It's not enough to just click the box that the character is in. You'd think that'd be enough, but if you go to save, it won't save. You have to click a tiny little star in the upper left corner of your character's portrait on the box in order for it to actually save. So thank you, Google, for finally straightening me out on that because I was losing my mind. Once you go through all of that, you get access to the wonderful forums. He's seen here the English forums, of course, which is honestly a very comprehensive forum site to receive technical support, report bugs, getting a chance to chat generally about gameplay in a whole bunch of different topics. I made the mistake of going on to general forums. And like, why is the community broken? Why is everyone so angry about everything right now? I was trying to find some really nice little happy threads to share, but I couldn't find any. Everyone was just angry. So my question is, like, WTF? Pyra, what's going on? Why is Final Fantasy... Why are players so angry?
I think it's kind of like if you look at reviews for like different websites, it doesn't even have to be related to gaming. A lot of people who are very vocal are like a loud, I don't want to say a loud minority, but like they're the people that are like super passionate either ends of the spectrum. And unfortunately, a lot of angry people like to let you know that they're angry. And I think a lot of content people are just chilling and not even probably in the forums. Not that there isn't a balance of both, but I think that could be said about a lot of different areas of life where just like people that are very vocally like perturbed or angry are going to look for sources to tell people and shout from the rooftops like, I'm angry and this is why.
No, I think you make a really good point there. I think you do. So here I was on X, and I wanted to get off X for a number of reasons, but I mean, I thought maybe people there were just really, really cranky. So I went on to Reddit, and I mean, people there are kind of bipolar.
Sorry.
Sometimes you get some really fluffy stuff, most of the time not. And so I thought, hey, you know what? If I want some really good Final Fantasy XIV discussion, I'm going to go onto the online forums. Are the developers this scared of criticism that critique just gets deleted? Treasure maps are bad?
What?
I tried reading that one and I'm like, I can't do this. I love treasure maps. Healer Strike again. I thought Healer Strike died. I thought we stopped talking about that months ago.
But it feels like it's coming back, I guess.
It does feel like it's coming back. Final Fantasy XIV player count reached the lowest point in 4 years. We've lost 75% of the player base. I would like to see the research on that one, but yeah. I don't really want to click through it. So there was someone at some point, I think, over the couple of weeks saga that I was trying to connect to the official forums, who warned me that maybe the content there wasn't very nice. I think that person may have been largely right. So the good news is I'm connected. The bad news is I'm connected. But I'm gonna kind of keep my finger on the pulse of some 14 news. And hopefully next week in this ongoing saga, I can find a couple of really nice threads to point out that are worth reading.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I think too, like, I would assume, and this is like an assumption with no research in preparation, but like, I would assume that people go there first if they have critiques because it's like the official forums and hopefully somebody like devs or like somebody official will have eyes on it. That's my only other like theory behind that, is if like people with criticism are going to go to the source first, which I guess in this case the forums are the closest thing to like going to the source.
Yeah. But I mean, here you go. Like the closer you are to God, how? I mean, you don't go there to complain, right? Like, who walks up who walks up to the pearly gates and is like, who's in charge of this place? The atmosphere sucks. I hate the smell, and where's my beer? Like, you don't do that. You don't do that. Why walk into the official forums knowing they're the official forums and they're moderated by potentially people at Square Enix and start complaining? I don't know. Maybe I'm a dying breed. Okay. What aren't we talking about? You can take the lead on this. We're not talking about DDoS.
I was gonna say
Again!
everybody's favorite.
Pyra, why is it still happening, and why do we have to not talk about this again?
It's still happening because people are terrible sometimes, and why are we talking about it again? Because if we always talk about it, we'll be talking about it for... That'll be our only news that we have. It's DDoS. So we're done. We're done with it. We're hurt. We're over it.
Listen, I mean, it's been bad the past week or so. Like, bad again. People have been kicked out of all sorts of content. We lost a couple of times during treasure maps on Friday. What? Debbie has so much going on in her brain, she's speechless. Why now? I guess is my biggest question. Why now?
It's like it hasn't, like, it has slowed down, but it hasn't stopped either. Like, that's the thing that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a year ago, we weren't hearing about this. At least not in this capacity. And, like, ever since, the few months leading up to Dawn Trail?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just been consistent. Like, it doesn't stop. Like, it may go quiet for, like, a few weeks, but then it just comes back. So it's just, at this point, like, you're like, if there was a point to try to get across, you're not getting across. You're just making people sad. So I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, there's been no declaration of war or anything that would make me believe that there's a point to this. Like,
Right.
No one's made any demands that I'm aware of. So just, I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, we're done with it. We said good day.
I said good day, sir. Tip of the week. This week's tip of the week is the timer menu is your friend. So I took some pictures today. If anyone doesn't use their timer menu on a daily basis when they're in game, you kind of need to start. This thing is a real... Will you zoom in? No. Okay. We are experiencing some technical difficulty. Please stand by. There we go.
Debbie got DDoS.
Okay. So it's not only a place where it's got all the different timers in the game. So your Grand Company missions, your custom deliveries, your ventures, your map allowance. It's got every timer in here. It's got how much money you can earn yet from the Dome and Enclave. It's got your reputation with every single one of the customs delivery people. And those symbols let you know what their bonus is for that week. So you don't even have to go up to them to guess. You just click on it. It shows you which are the gathering bonuses and which are the crafting bonuses. I was taking these screenshots off world, but if I were on world, it will let you know timers regarding your estate, like whether it's a drawing period of a lottery or what have you. Do you use your timers? Or am I just timer obsessed?
I can truthfully say I don't use them as much as I used to when I was doing more crafting and gathering and kind of more housekeeping things. However, every time I rediscover them, I'm like, this is so freaking convenient, and I need to use them more, truthfully. Like, they have so much value, but I do tend to forget, especially when I'm not crafting and gathering, which at least you, Debbie, will know how much I craft and gather.
Are you kidding me? You are a professional, man.
Yeah, maybe 2 expansions ago I was.
And this, the supply missions, if you're one of those people who are turning in these items in order to level your crafters or gatherers, or just get a whole bunch of Grand Company currency, there is a shortcut on here to insta copy the text of this, so you can just copy it and paste it into the market board too. So super, super useful. Just if instead of like these gargantua skin fingerless gloves of whatever, instead of typing that in and finding out on the market board, you just like copy it and then paste it. Super easy. Anyway, I can't live without my timers. I hope you utilize them. Oh, I got nothing more to say on that.
I know they used to help me a lot with squadrons too. Like trying to figure out when your squadron's back so you could like deal with them. Deal with them is not the word. Send them on a new mission.
I would love squadrons to become relevant again. Don't get me wrong. It's on my list of things. Squadrons, more Grand Company ranks, variant dungeons. It's the list of broken dreams. It's the list of things they could just add to and make better.
The list, like, I know this is like a rabbit hole. The Grand Company ranking, not even just a list of broken dreams, things they can add to, things that they started that they never finished.
Yeah.
Come on. These things have been in the game since what, A Realm Reborn, some of it, and it's like, one day you may get there, but not because we're adding it in. Like, see, here's a dream.
The average person may not care, but to obsessive compulsive like perfectionists like me, it really matters that I'm not champion of the realm. Okay, let me have that rank. Just let me get it. No, and again, something like that would revisit and kind of freshen up a Realm Reborn content. It would just, it provides a benefit to the early game part of the expansion, or part of the game, right? That was hardly English, but it's a benefit to everyone. I think they need to do it. That's kind of my soapbox on that. Mm-hmm. But we are not talking about that today. Our topic today is field operations. Is the new field operation going to be the savior of the game, or is everyone just making it up to be something it's not? Little bit of context before I pass it over to you. Endwalker didn't have one. Everyone complained. That was the worst part of Endwalker, was that it didn't exist. How dare it not exist? They may have felt pressured to get one in this time. They promised it. It's getting delivered. Patch 7.2. Is it everything they think it's going to be? And have you done the previous two, Eureka and Boja?
That is so tricky because of like the weight of it. Like what it's kind of like this crossworlds of them putting pressure on it and the community putting pressure on this, of like, this has got to mean something, this has got to be better than. I did do Eureka and Boja. I can say that one thing that really makes this so important for a lot of people in the community is just how accessible it is, and how everybody from like endgame raiders to like casual players will be in this content. Like, there's no doubt that like a wider audience will go into this, where we don't have that much content in game that provides that's like an instance content. Like, of course you could do fates and you could do allied society quests, but like there's not another piece of content that like really hits that sweet spot for like everybody. I guess like dungeons kind of, but you know, those are very like quick and done. And I think because of that, because of like how many expansions deep we are now, like it is almost warranted, like people really wanting that and needing that. And like you said, because we didn't have any in Endwalker, there's now this like unwritten pressure of like, okay, the next one must be the best. How about you, Debbie? Did you do a lot of Eureka or Baja or any?
Yeah. So I didn't do Eureka when it came out. But I think that was very common. I think a lot of people didn't do Eureka when it came out. But I did do Boja when it came out. I spent 3 or 4 months over the course of the summer before Endwalker dropped, just like doing as much Boja as possible, trying to get my mount, the Alkili mount. And I did. I loved Boja. I subsequently went back to Eureka and ended up completing Baldesion Arsenal and getting the mount there too. But Boja was by far my favorite, not because I liked the aesthetic. I really didn't care for it. Like, it's very World War-y. It's very scorched earth, bombs exploding everywhere. Like, I had a little PTSD from the whole experience. It wasn't my cup of tea, but what I loved about it was everyone getting together in a couple of zones and doing the same content. There were parties everywhere. There was always people shouting for this, that, or the other thing. The castrums were always going every single time they popped, and Delubrum Reginae was always an insta queue for a full like 24-man raid. So when I went back to Boja after Endwalker dropped and went in my first Delubrum Reginae with 8 people and went back into Boja and no one was doing the castrums anymore, it definitely felt like a very different experience. And I don't think I would have liked it if that had been my initial experience. But because I was there when everyone was there, it was like a moment. It becomes nostalgic. It's like I was there. I was there when everyone was in Boja, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I get what people are missing, is that connection to the community and getting to play with everyone and be in it as it's happening. But that's a lot of effort and a lot to ask of a dev team. I mean, is it? Or, I mean, some people will argue not. Some people will argue, well, you know, it's the least they could do with our money. But the more of these zones we have, the less likely it is for people to go back, right? And so instead of having 5 or 6 or 7, maybe we should find ways to make the ones that we have more relevant, add more zones, carry on the stories there or something. What do you think? What do you think?
I think 14 has a chronic problem of just that, and it like bleeds outside of this type of content, but the dev team has this chronic problem with like creating something that's like timely and like it works really well for the period of time that it was launched, and then by the next expansion it's dead. It's completely dead, or at least mostly dead, unless you really have people passionate about that type of content. You see that with maps. When was the last time you just walked through an A Realm Reborn map that wasn't one of the major city-states? Probably not in a long time, unless you had something specific that you were achieving, like a screenshot. Like, truthfully, they don't give us much reason to go back into the older content. That's one reason why I've always liked being able to do, like, even people harp on like Crystal Tower and like Circus Tower, like that whole like Alliance Raid series, but like for every time we have like Moogle tomes and stuff, but like sometimes it's nice to just have a reason to go back into that content for the nostalgia. And I do, as somebody who like isn't in love with, I will have to admit as well, like I'm not in love with this style content. It's not my thing. Like seeing another one come in, I'm like, all right. Like it's just like I'll still do it. Like I'm still more than happy to do it, but it's like I wonder how much you may be onto something, especially with like could we just like spice up the the zones we had, or like, is it imperative that we make a brand new version of this?
It's kind of very memey, isn't it? It's like, what, you want another field operation? We have field operations at home. And then it shows like Bozja and Eureka in the corner, and it's like, we don't want those. Come on. But you're not even playing with those anymore. Why do you want another one?
My new toys are so much better.
So I think instead of a field operation, another zone, another time sink, another place to spend hours and hours and hours getting false levels for another leveling currency, what you really just want is to play with everyone. In an MMO, what you really want is just a reason for everyone to be working on the same content at the same time. Creating parties, creating party finders, like popping dungeons. And if they were thinking, I think they could achieve the same thing without having to put all of the effort into creating a new space that people are going to abandon, like you said, like variant dungeons. Just months after being complete with no replay value whatsoever, no one's doing them.
It stems into so many different areas. Like, I'm reading chat right now quick, and like Prince mentions Island Sanctuary, like going back to
yeah.
They just, as much as I love a lot of the things, I love so many things in this game. People think I white knight sometimes because of the amount of stuff I love. I cannot help but admit, just like, they have a chronic problem, a real problem with just like letting content die. And like, instead of revitalizing it, look at shiny new reskin of that. Look at shiny new version. And it's like, but I want to, like, I don't need a shiny new version every time. I just want a really good repurposed version of what we have sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And we were talking about that earlier, kind of the island of lost dreams, with all this content that they kind of abandoned. And could, for all intents and purposes, shiny up and people would do it again. I think they're listening to what we're saying, and we're not very good at articulating what it is we want.
Yeah.
It's like we're nostalgic for that feeling where we can all get together and work on the same thing at the same time and have that really large community of players where things are popping, things are happening, things are getting done, everyone's cheering. Like watching duels when Bozja first came out was super exciting. Like everyone would be hanging out around the ring cheering the person on. Like it was a spectacle. And I don't think we need an entire 3-zone field operation to get that feeling. But I don't think anyone at the same time has done a really good job of articulating that that's the part of these things that we miss. Is not so much that it's all of this new content, which is already overwhelming to maybe newer players who already have like 6 expansions worth of content they need to get through in order to finish the MSQ. But I think maybe we need to be asking more questions instead of making a lot of statements, because statements don't give any information to the dev team. We want another field operation. Just says we want another field operation. What is it about the field operations we want, and why is it that Bozja and Eureka aren't fulfilling that need right now, and how can we change that? Because I think when I think about another field operation, and why I think this is going to be a problem shortly after its launch, is it's another grind that people are going to go in, do as much as possible as quickly as possible because it's new and shiny and they want to be the first to get them out, get the glam, get the titles. They want to be the first, especially creators, to post the videos, to get the views, to speak on it. And then everyone's just going to be done with it. And then they're going to go back to like, okay, but we're still not happy with Endwalker.
Right.
We're still not happy with Endwalker. So what do we want? What do we want? And I think if we're not better at articulating that to the dev team, they're not going to be able to meet that need. And I mean, there's a lot riding on this field exploration. Like all these people over the past year who have been, well, this was the problem with Endwalker, and this is going to be what fixes Dawn Trail. I'd be walking on eggshells. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it gives us the same issue that I think Dawn Trail as a general expansion has and had at launch. I don't doubt that they're like, I agree with a lot of like concerns about Dawn Trail. Well, I can't say that. I'm gonna take that back. Reverse what I just said. There are a lot, like just factually, there are a lot of people who had issues with Dawn Trail, and we said it before the expansion even dropped. Certain people did not temper their expectations for what it could be and should be, and they put this pressure in their mind of like how much like, oh, this needs to be better, like this needs to be a big thing, this needs to like one up the last version of that. And that is such a dangerous territory to get into because there is no such thing as like linear growth. Like things are going to go up and down in every part of life. B, I think too much people may be putting pressure, like way too much pressure on like, this is the savior of the expansion. Like that just leaves such a room for disappointment. Even if the content is amazing, but people really like put in their minds, like this is like what's gonna save the expansion, like that is too, that weight is too heavy to put on one piece of content.
So here's the question, and I'll share my thoughts afterwards, but I want to hear what you have to say about this. Does Final Fantasy XIV have to be the best MMO? Or are people putting expectations on it in like it has to succeed or it's failing sort of way? Or could Square Enix's target be a little bit different than being the most popular, most played MMO?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think to an extent they've painted a picture that they are one of the leading MMOs, which I don't think is a wrong assumption. To put a pressure of like they have to be the best, they have to strive to be the best, that is like too much weight for anyone to bear. Like I think that is like so tough. Like what do you think, Debbie? Like to me, I'm also like such an empathetic person, so like I don't want anybody to think to like put that much pressure on like a single entity or a single person. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
So I mean, I think about it as 1.0 flopped. Absolutely flopped. Yoshi P was brought in to fix it. He did the best he could. A Realm Reborn was okay. People came back and played the game again. And he thought, okay, well, even if this was the best I did, people came back and bought the game again, so I can be happy with that. Heaven's Word happened. And the game kind of had a population boom. Like, it got a lot of attention. People loved Heaven's Word. And I imagine he's probably sitting there at that point going, well, hey, this was really kind of unexpected. I did not see this happening. This game was garbage 3 years ago, and now people are really loving it. That's awesome. Stormblood happened, and he's probably like, okay, this is kind of what I thought was going to happen. We can go back to making our game now because the population surge is kind of gone and people who are loyal to the game are still playing, so let's just do our thing. They did their thing. For Shadowbringers and Endwalker, they did their thing. And unexpectedly, again, they hit something. And there was a massive population boom that was probably well beyond what any of them had ever expected. Yoshi P kind of most of all. He's like, this 1.0 garbage has really, really changed the world, sort of thing. Like, what did we do here? And I imagine probably Square Enix put a lot of pressure on him at that point. Like, hey, this can really become something. Let's make the most of it. Let's capitalize on this. And so you didn't see a lot of risk taking in Shadowbringers and Endwalker because they wanted to keep up that cash cow. But now that they're back in Dawn Trail, I imagine he's kind of doing the same thing he did during Stormblood and is like, okay, let's just go back to making our game. Let's just go back to what we were doing and making the game for the players who love the game, instead of making the game for new players and the players who are new to the game. And that's kind of, in my mind, how I see what's going on. And so for Dawn Trail and maybe even 8.0, it's going to be going back to the beginning and just making the game they want to make without the pressure that we've seen. And so I would argue that people who are talking about Final Fantasy XIV failing and players leaving and the game not competing in an MMO space anymore, maybe it's not the derogatory thing they think it is. Maybe it's just Yoshi P taking a breath and going back to making more content for the game and keeping it going until they reach the next spurt. Yeah. And I mean, presumably it's going to happen. Maybe 7.0, maybe even 8.0 are a bit of a lull, but then something happens in 9.0 and suddenly like we're up at 2 million players. So you just, the thing about a breathing, living MMO is it can't succeed or fail. As long as they keep putting it out, as long as they keep hosting it, it's not finished yet.
Right.
It can't flop if it's not finished. So I think really anyone who's saying at this point in time that the game is a failure, that Dawn Trail killed the game, they're not talking coherently because the game's not done. And so even if they lose a bunch of the players, that just puts pressure off Yoshi P. So he can go back to being a creative and thinking outside the box and doing what he wants to do. So, I mean, I know I've been going on for a bit here. Pyra, do you have anything to interject in what I'm saying?
I honestly get it. I feel so similar to you. And like what you just said is literally the only thing I was going to add to that with like being a creative. Being a creative does not, like, if you think that any creative like strides and hits perfection every time, I would like to meet that type of creative. I'm an artist who went to art school and I make creative things, and I can tell you that doesn't happen like that in no creative field. I work in creative fashion right now. I've worked in like different creative jobs in my past, and like there is no creative, like this is a game, so it's with over a million players, so like we have a lot of people here, but this is still like a creative project, a creative process. Like this, a video game like this in general is like it is such a creative medium. Having this pressure of just like consistent perfection is just not realistic. It is not realistic in any stretch of the imagination, and I do just think that there's been like so much of this pressure, and like going back to like the root of this conversation with like the Occult Crescent coming up, I think that there's just like all of this pressure for like this has to be it, this is like the saving grace. And it's like I also think that we as a player base need to give constructive criticism when it makes sense, and feedback. However, like we need to realize like this is part of the creative process. Trying new things is part of the creative process, and like mixing things up is part of it, and that is the only way to get better. And like just going off of formulas isn't the way, and like just kind of trying to mass produce a bunch of things is not the way. Like there is a process that needs to happen, and like that's the only way to like truly make it better. And I agree with what you said, Debbie. Like this is for the player base who cares, and I'm for that. Like I'm for that. There are some things as a business I'm sure they have to do, not to throw shade because I'm actually really excited for it, but the Fujifilm collaboration with Instax, that's a business transaction. but it's gonna be fun. And like realizing that those things have to happen too to make this live. And so just like having some grace is always needed with with any sort of support for like a game like this.
Absolutely. So I would challenge everyone. You can even put your answers in the comments if you want. Anyone who's a fan of the game should be able to name 5 things about Dawn Trail they really enjoyed. It should be easy. Listen, even if you weren't a fan of the story, even if you weren't a fan of the main character, even if you weren't a fan of the location or the theme in general, you should be able to name 5 things about Dawn Trail you really enjoyed. And if you can't, then maybe you're not a fan of the game. And I mean that with the most respect possible. And the less we talk about what we don't like and the more we talk about what we do like, the more we're going to see of the stuff we do like. I'm playing through some of the dungeons again ad nauseum, leveling my trusts. And the dungeons are fun. Yeah, not everyone feels that way. I know there's a problem with some casual players getting through it, and I'm going to look at creating guides for that. But the new mechanics and the visuals and the interactions with NPCs, especially in the trusts that you're seeing in those dungeons, it is really fun and cute. So I think if you start looking for things in the game that you enjoy, you can see where they still have passion. It's not, as I hear people saying and echoing over and over, oh, well, Square Enix is all about the money now. They're just trying to get money. There's nothing for the players. If you start looking, you're going to see what they're doing out of love and what they're doing for the players. It's there. It is there. And if you're upset about something, or if you're not sure how you feel about Dawn Trail in general, I think it's better to ask questions than to make statements. Like, why did they do this? Or what can they do better? Or what did I last enjoy? Or what could they do again? Or what could they add more of? Or what haven't I done in a while that I really want to do again? And maybe put those threads on the online forums so that maybe they can see that and do something with it instead of the problem with Yoshi P. Because he's just a dude who's doing his best.
Just one guy.
Just
in
one
sea of a corporation trying his best. Truthfully. You bring up really good points, Debbie, too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go.
I was just gonna say, like, I think about it and, like, hear me out on this one. I think about it almost like a relationship. If you love something and something isn't working, do you just say, oh, F this is crap, bye? Or do you try to, like you said, like, ask these questions, like, what could be different? And, like, I do think that, like, constructive feedback should be given. I think it's also a disservice if things don't feel sunshine and rainbows to just pretend that it's all sunshine and rainbows. But I think there's a way, if you were talking to, like, your best friend or your, a spouse or something, and something wasn't right, something didn't feel right, maybe, would you say, hey, you're trash and this is why? Or would you, like, ask them, like, hey, what were you thinking when you like, what was your process behind adding this into the game? What was your intent? Maybe, like, this didn't resonate with me. Here's maybe why. Like, I think that there's a way to go about it that, like, if you really care about the state of the game going forward, like, criticize, have constructive criticism, but don't just, well, this sucks and this is why. Like, I think at that point you're saying you need a break and you don't want this. And that's fine too. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, like, hey, this game isn't for me anymore. But yeah, I just think that there's a level of the loud voices, like we kind of looked at the forums earlier, where it's just noise. It just becomes noise at a certain point versus, like, a path forward and, like, a path of, like, honest, candid feedback.
And I think you hit on it, and I do want to add that to my list of points so that it doesn't go without me saying, but you're not a bad person if you just don't want to play Final Fantasy XIV right now. Like, that doesn't speak poorly of the game, and it doesn't speak poorly of you, and I'm not attacking anyone who's playing other things, because, listen, there's a lot of really good games out right now. That's not a problem. That's a boon to the gamer world. Like, we love that there's so much to play. Is another 25% of the population going to drop when Monster Hunter hits? Yeah, probably.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not a bad thing. And I don't know why people are saying it's a bad thing, or people are attacking it, or putting it as proof that the game is dead. It's like, it's a good problem to have. It's a healthy problem to have. I'm sure Yoshi P doesn't mind the competition. It play your game. Play your game and come back to Final Fantasy XIV 6 months from now, next year, a year from now, 2 years from now. Still be there. It's not going anywhere. The only place it might go is if they create another whole MMO that replaces it, but that didn't kill 11. And I don't know that it would kill 14 either. So, listen, I'm not hating on anyone. I'm questioning why people are speaking out so negatively, so passionately about the game, while still playing it. And if you know what, if it's something that they can fix, then give them a good, decent argument why they should fix it. And if it's not something they can fix, then why are you putting in the energy instead of just playing something you do like? Mm-hmm. Like, life is too short, right? And I think that was the theme of Dawn Trail at the very end, was life is too short. You never know when something is going to disappear forever. So don't waste your energy being upset or being negative or being hurt about something that's beyond your control. Right? Life advice on a podcast.
You're totally right, though. Like, it's especially in the state of the world, that is a lot of real life chaos going on. Like, this is our safe space. Like, this is our space to make it what we will. And if we make it a positive environment, that's just going to reflect on our communities. That's just going to reflect on us, on the people around us, and that's the stuff. Without getting too, like, life cheesy, that's the stuff worth living for, not for the constant, like, wah.
Exactly. So, I mean, we kind of waxed a little poetic at the end there, but honestly, like, it's your life to live. And Final Fantasy has its ups and downs. It's been popular, it's been unpopular, it's been radically popular. And now it's going through a period of deserved or undeserved radical dislike in some spheres. But it will endure. And there are some people who have played it from the beginning who are going to keep playing it. And until they give me a very good reason to stop, I'm going to keep playing it. My character's been around forever. I can't just leave her. But more than that, like, I've enjoyed the ride so far. I've enjoyed the ride. And I have critiques. This isn't the forum to give them, but I have critiques. But largely, like you said, I think there's a demand for a space within the community of content like this, discussions like this, from a casual perspective for casual players. And I mean, ultimately, if hardcore players or raiders or other species of people within the game, I don't know why that was how I was going to phrase that, but you know, the housing enthusiasts or the RP enthusiasts or that sort of thing, if they have different perspectives, then there are creators that cater for them too. And so I'm going to make no apologies for what I've said. But the rest of the conversation might be for another day. What are you going to be up to this week, Pyra?
Whew, after that life talk, life lessons, this week is more through more Futures Rewritten Ultimate. We're probably going to help give new people a chance at learning Ultimates this weekend. So probably a mix of just getting ready before the patch and doing some Ultimates and teaching some newcomers to Ultimate. How about you, Debbie?
Cool. Okay, listen, I'm going to say it here, but it's kind of on the down low. This Saturday, the 22nd, is Fish Fest, held by the Eorzea Museum conglomerate and the fishing Discord. They have a whole bunch of events going on the Material Data Center, including a game show that I will be taking part in. So that's what I'll be doing this Saturday. So join me there. More information will be coming to my Discord when I can disclose it. But I think it's going to be an absolute blast of a weekend. My streaming schedule is going to be a bit weird this week. I will be streaming Wednesday and Friday, and maybe a bonus stream in there somewhere, but maybe not, because I do want to get caught up on YouTube. But I will do what I can, I promise. It's hard to balance everything. I have 3 cats, and one of them has been to the vet 4 times in the past 6 weeks because of some dental stuff going on. So IRL kind of gets in the way too sometimes, but it happens. So do you have anything to say before we head out?
Just everybody out there, it's a stressful time for life, but be kind, be candid, be good to each other out there, because we all need it. How about you, Debbie?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. The world is a crazy place, but let's keep Final Fantasy in our community a nice, safe, happy place for everyone to come and spend some time away from it all. Thank you so much to everyone who joined me in chat. I have kind of been looking at chat, but haven't had a time to really interrupt my soapbox to say anything. So thank you all to everyone who's chatted, who's been here to join us here and in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you want more content, like and subscribe. It lets us know you're watching and that you want more. Take care, everyone. Love yourself as much as you love others, and we'll see you all in game. Bye.
Bye.